Hello, you little math wizards. I hope everybody is doing well. This week, we are going to be doing the same thing that we were practicing last week, and that is adding positive and negative numbers. So, one thing I wanted to mention to you is that I don't want you to get frustrated or upset if you see that on some of your papers that you got some of the problems wrong. Um, this is practice. And just like if I was going around the classroom, like checking to see if you did your homework, I'd be walking up and down the aisle giving you a sticker. It's for completion. It's that you put the effort in, you tried your best. It's practice. So that's what you're doing when you're doing these papers. You're just practicing. And it takes time. Um, this is a new concept, adding negative numbers, so I don't expect it to be for you to get it 100% right off the bat. If you do, that's fantastic, but if you don't, that's okay too. We're going to just keep practicing and we're going to work at it. And this is really a skill that you will do in 7th grade. So just trying to show it to you now so when you see it next year, you'll kind of have a little feel for it before you really dive into it. So this week we are going to practice again adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers, and then next week will really be your last week of instruction, and I'll talk about multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers, which actually is much easier than adding and subtracting, which is kind of crazy. But so today, what I'm going to do, I have one of the worksheets that you had for homework last week, and I'm going to go through and work out some of the problems and just talk it through again so you get used to hearing and thinking about the different rules that we follow when we're adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. And then this week, you'll have 2 more worksheets to practice on. And again, just try your best. And then you'll see, like, I'll check it in OneNote, and if I circle a problem because you made a mistake, that doesn't mean that's bad. It doesn't mean you're going to get a bad grade for it. It's practice. And just look over your problem and see if you can find out where the mistake was made. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to work out a couple problems, and I'm going to try to not be like so formal. I'm going to try to put it in words that will make it easier for you to understand. So hopefully if you are having some problems or getting confused, maybe this will help. So you could just follow along. So let's look at number 1. The first thing I do when I look at an addition problem that has positive and negative numbers is look to see if the signs are the same. And if they're the same, it makes it really easy. You just add those 2 numbers together and use the sign that they are. But if they're different, that's when you subtract. So if I look at 8 plus negative 2, the signs are different. The 8 is a positive and the 2 is a negative. So I have to subtract. 8 minus 2 equals 6. And then now I have to think, okay, I look at the greater number. Which one is bigger? Is 8 or 2 bigger? Well, 8 is. And I'm going to use the sign that is in front of the 8. And since there's no sign at all right there, we know that means it's a positive. And that's what you would put in front of your answer. So my answer is 6, or positive 6. You don't have to put the positive sign there, but you can. So that's one way to do it. Now, when I was first introducing this, we used the method using the number line, or we made like 8 positives to represent this positive 8. And then we used 2 negatives to represent the 2 negatives. And the positive and negative cancel each other out. And I'd see how many I'm left with, and that shows you I'm left with 6 positives. So again, my answer is 6. But I totally understand if you don't feel like making a bunch of pluses and minuses all over your paper and crossing them out. You are more than welcome to do that. It's a great visual, but if you don't want to, I get it. So if you want to try to just get used to doing it without having that visual, let's keep on working. So let's look at number 2. If I look at negative 5 and 9, again, they're 2 different signs. I have a negative 5, I have a positive 9. So I need to subtract. What's the difference between 9 and 5? Well, that's 4. And again, I'm going to look at the signs and see which number, the bigger number, the greater number, what sign that is, and that is the sign that will go in front of my answer. 5 is a negative. 9 is a positive. 9 is greater than 5. So the positive number will be my answer. So my answer is positive 4. And again, you don't have to put the positive in front of it, but you can. So remember, if the signs don't match, if it's a positive and a negative number, subtract and then use the sign of the larger number. All right, number 3. Now here we have one that has the same signs. The 10 is a negative, the 1 is a negative, so we're just adding. 10 plus 1 equals 11, and the signs are negative, so it's negative. If you remember when we were drawing this one out, before we'd have 10, let's see, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I have one more negative for this one, so that's 11 negatives. So if the signs are the same, if they're both negative numbers, you add those two numbers together and stick the negative sign for your answer. If they're both positive, you just add the two positive numbers together and it's a positive answer. So let's look at number 4. 7 plus negative 3. Are the signs the same? No, they're different. We have a positive 7, a negative 3. So we subtract the difference. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 7 is a positive number. 3 is a negative number. 7 is the greater number. So that's the sign I'm going to use out here, which is positive. So my answer is just 4. For number 5, I have a negative 9 and a negative 4. They're both the same sign. So I just add the number. 9 plus 4 is 13. And since they're both negatives, so is my answer. I could make a bunch of negative 9s, add 4 more little negatives, and count them all together. But you don't have to go through that step if you just know, okay, these signs are the same. So I'm just going to add these two numbers together and put the sign out in front of my answer. So we're going to continue with that thinking and finish the rest of these problems. Let's look for ones that have all the signs, both signs are the same. Number 6, negative 11 and negative 3. Both of those signs are negative, so we add the 11 and the 3 together, which would be 14, and they're both negative, so we're going to put a negative there. Now, if you look down here at number 9, it's the same thing. We have a negative here and a negative right there and a negative right here, so they're both negative. So we're going to add those two numbers together, 20 and 20, which is 40, and they're both negative, so my answer is going to be negative. I have that down here again for number 11. I have 2 negatives, so my answer is going to be negative, and 7 plus 6 equals 13. And for number 12 also, I have a negative here and a negative there. 14 plus 10 equals 24, and they're negative. So that's one thing. If that idea helps you when you go through your homework, these new worksheets that you're going to be having for homework for practice, if you want to go through and look for all the ones that have 2 negatives, know that your answer is going to be negative and just add those two numbers together. And same thing, you know that 2 positives added together is going to be positive. That's like the regular math problems that we're used to. So now we go to the ones that have a positive and a negative. 15 plus negative 8. Well, that is a positive 15, a negative 8. I find the difference. 15 minus 8 is 7. Oh, that took me a second to figure out. And since the 15 is the bigger number and it is positive, the answer is going to stay positive. 5 is positive for 5 plus negative 3. 3 is negative. I find the difference, which is 2. The 5 is the larger number, and it is positive, so the 2 stays positive. And number 10. 17 plus negative 5, we have 17 is positive, 5 is a negative, find the difference is 12. And since 17 is a positive, and it's bigger than 5, the answer will be positive. So I'm hoping that this helps a little bit. I'm hoping. Let me see if I could pull up one of your homework sheets. Hold on a second. Look at your homework for this week. This is one of the papers. I can only fit a couple of the problems in, but if we, and I can't write on this for some reason, but if you look at it, the same idea of what we were talking about just a second ago, look to see if the signs are the same, and if they are, add the two numbers together. For example, if you look at number 5 on this worksheet, 2 plus 4, that's just positive 2 plus positive 4. 2 plus 4, you know that equals 6. Nothing tricky there. But if you look down at number 8, it says negative 9 plus negative 1. They're both negatives, so add them together, which would be negative 10, because the sign is going to stay the same, and you just add the two numbers together. So as you're working through these problems for this week, think about, are the signs the same? If the signs are the same, if you have two positives or two negatives, just add the numbers together and use that sign that they are. If the signs are different, if there's a positive and a negative, you subtract the two numbers and you use the sign of the bigger number. So if you look at number 4 on this homework paper, it says negative 6 plus 4. That's a negative 6 and a positive 4. The signs are different. So subtract 6 and 4, and that would be 2. Look for the sign of the bigger number. 6 is bigger than 4. And so you're going to look at the sign in front of 6, which is negative. So your answer would be negative 2. So just give it a shot. Try your best. That's all I can ask. Again, this is just practice. And I'll be checking. And if you have any questions, you can go to the daily, actually, Zoom meeting Monday through Friday at 11 to 11:30. You don't have to, but if you have questions, I'm there for you if you need me. So I hope this explanation helps a little bit, but I want you to have a good week. Just try your best and don't stress. Bye.